We're finally here. The Outlander season 4 finale, Man of Worth. All I've got to say is, aside from the tears of Droughtlander, why Roger? Wow. Stay tuned for this week's review of the Outlander finale.
You're tuned in to AfterBuzz TV, the ESPN of TV talk. Now, let the buzz begin.
And we're laughing because Roger, why? I mean, it didn't end so badly, but
what was that whole pause about? That was so crazy. I was upset about it.
I'm Rachel Goodman, and I'm joined by my amazing co-host.
Hey guys, I'm Angele Taylor, and I am pissed.
Okay, so on that note, we were going to do this chronologically. Let's dive in because...
Fast forward straight to Roger.
Because I got to say, I got into the studio today and I ran into Angele and it was like, yep, Roger.
Oh my gosh.
So... Here was my thing, and this is coming from someone who hasn't read the books.
Okay. Same here.
I didn't know what was going to happen. So this is all brand new for me, and I promise by next time around, I will have read the books. That's my goal for 2019 after this. Woo-hoo! But I didn't know what was going to happen. So I sort of just, when they showed up at River Run and he wasn't there with them.
Yes.
I was like, Roger, no.
I was like Bree. I was trying to look behind the trees like, Is Roger back there playing? No.
I thought he was.
What?
I was almost even tempted to pause it because I was like, no, he's got to be there. He's tending to the horses.
Maybe we're overlooking this because I knew they did not just go through all of that to come back empty-handed. I was upset about it.
Well, and even Jamie, like when they first got Roger and they went through all the hassle and everything with Ian.
Right.
Jamie's like, I just sacrificed someone I love dearly. And you're telling me that you're not sure if you're going to come back with us? I was like, oh, no. Like
he had to think about it, though. What are you thinking about? How long have you been captive? You've had that entire time to just kind of know, okay, am I going to live for this girl? Am I going to die for this girl? Like, okay, so with that being said, you've already sacrificed so much of you. What is there to think about once you find out she has a baby? Like, out of being raped, though. Like, what are you thinking about?
Yeah, exactly.
She could not help that.
Exactly. And that's the thing, is that it's not even, they didn't show up and say that Brianna cheated on him. They showed up and said that she was attacked.
Right.
And that the baby, first of all, Claire had to point out that this baby might not be his. Like, maybe he just wasn't even going there, but like she had to point this out to him, like point out something that he should have already been thinking about. That was the first thing. And then the other thing was,
everything just happened so fast. I felt like they squeezed all of this into this one episode. It was like my mind was blown by how much information was given, how much content was in this one particular episode. I'm like, okay, so you saved everything for the last, because I mean, it just seemed like it just kind of crept along a little bit for me.
Yeah, I agree with you. I feel like, okay, so overall thoughts of the entire season, season 4, I feel like the beginning of 4 was very slow, and then they crammed all of this stuff into the end, and then this final episode, I mean, they were all good. It's not like they weren't good, like the episodes, but the last episode, I wanted it to be an hour and a half long instead of the hour.
It totally should have been. I felt like it was an hour and a half because we went through this whole, what's the name of the Indian that went rogue?
Otter Tooth.
Yeah. So we went through his backstory that should have came out way sooner because I was like, okay, why are we saving this for right now?
Which kind of brings us back to the beginning of the episode where we see Otter Tooth and we see everything.
We saw his ghost. They should have linked that a little closer, right?
Yeah, I agree. And I think that it works really well. Like in terms of if I were reading this in the book, it would probably work amazingly well. The way that they kind of translated this from, the way that they translated this onto the screen, they really needed to spend more time on everything with Otter Tooth. So earlier, I'm not sure if you were on the panel at this point. This is one of the first episodes of season 4 when we saw.
I wasn't on yet.
When we saw everything with the man with the skull that Claire found.
Yes.
With the
the
silver fillings.
Oh yeah, the silver filling.
And she found this skull, and she knew that it was.
Hold on, I just had a moment. Remember the opening of the episode
With
the Native American sitting on the bench
That's
in
him.
present time. That was him.
That is him, yeah. But what I was getting at though with the silver fillings, when way back earlier, like a couple months ago when we were talking about this episode, I remember we were chatting with everyone in the chat room, and they were like, yeah, it's because the prediction was they had found Jamie's skull, and that he ends up going back into the future, and he's brought back, and like he ends up, it's his ghost. That was what we were all talking about. So the question was, who's this skull and who's this time traveler? And it ended up being the Otter Tooth. And he came back and he tried to basically save his people from what was going to happen to them, but he went mad in the process.
But how did anyone think it was Jamie? We saw Otter Tooth's ghost.
Yeah.
Like when Claire was asleep but woke, she like awakened to see a Native American in front of her. So like we knew it wasn't Jamie. And I really wish they would have given us that story, that content a lot earlier that was closer to that episode versus now. They saved everything for last.
I'm worried that we're never going to see. So we see Otter Tooth. I don't even think we got his actual name from, I'm assuming he came from the 1950s. And the reason I say that is because when we saw him in the beginning of this episode, he was with presumably his children, and the style of clothing they were wearing.
With his children?
I don't know if they
he
were
was just sitting in a park and
saw the kids.
There were some children like passerbyers, and they were doing cowboys and Indians. It was children that belonged to the lady that was sitting near him.
You're probably right, yeah.
And he's just kind of like bizarre, but it's because cowboys and Indians and like wear like as much as he knows. So
exactly. And he was probably really offended that they were playing that game. But the kids looked like they were wearing and even he looked like he was wearing 1950s style clothing. So I'm assuming that's the time period that he's coming from when he traveled back. I guess he found the stones in wherever he found them in America. We still don't know exactly where Roger stumbled upon them, but presumably that's how Otter Tooth came back. And it was just, I wanted to know a little bit more about this guy, and I'm just worried that now that he's gone, that we kind of closed up everything. Ian's with the Mohawks. I'm worried we're not going to get that much more from this, and it seems like it was kind of built up a little bit, and to just randomly see him at the top of the episode and then not get more.
I know.
From anything else.
So my question is, like, when you die, being not in your current period, do you die for all periods? Like you never get to go back to your period? Yeah,
you're done. If you die in the past.
It just didn't make sense to see him at the top of the episode then, because he's like, he's dead.
I think
he died in that period.
Yeah, I think what they were trying to say is maybe kind of like how sometimes they show the prologue of the episode. It's probably not the technical name for it, but they show like that beginning, and I think they were flashing back, even though we were flashing to the 1950s, and then kind of just that we kind of had a hint that it was going to be about him in some capacity during the episode.
Right.
So we actually have a couple of comments in here too. Kamara Harrington says, "Poor Ian, that was sad." This is probably a good time to talk about Ian, and after they made this huge trek.
I love Ian. I love him so much, and even so much more the fact that he has all of this integrity. He's like, no, like, don't make me not be a man of my word. If I tell them that I want to stay with them, don't try to come and save me. Like, don't make me try to save myself. Like, this is where I'm going to be. Because I told them that, I would sacrifice myself. So that was just, I don't know. I was just like, oh, I love you so much more for that.
Yeah.
And then the little flash of Rollo, like, yeah, I'm standing with him too.
I was wondering what was going to happen with Rollo, but I assumed.
You already knew. Rollo and Ian, they're just like, they're a package deal.
What I really loved, though, and this kind of goes back to Roger a little bit too, the scene where they're intercutting between Roger beating up Jamie and Ian jumping through the line.
Right.
Now,
they call it a gauntlet. Like,
good to know.
Form the gauntlet, and that's when they all lined up, and so that was his little rush in.
Well, my thought was when we saw Ian about to do the gauntlet, I didn't know I didn't really know like how he was gonna do. I sort of guessed, like, as soon as he made that jump into the air, that he was going to handle this better than Roger. However, in Roger's defense, the only reason, we were talking about this earlier, the only reason why Roger didn't, I don't think he did as well, I don't think Roger did as well as he could have, because when the Mohawks brought him in, he had been under really terrible conditions. He had a broken arm. Someone had almost beaten him to death. Like, so.
Bring out the violins, Rachel. You're going to defend Roger, and I'm not here for that, okay? I think Roger is just such a coward, and I mean, I'm just simply not on Team Roger, especially after this episode. I mean, even though he did come back at the end, leaving her with that mental torment. Like, okay, so you saw him and he had a decision like to make. He could have came back with you and all would have been well, but he wanted to think about it. Like, oh my gosh, as if she hadn't suffered enough being alone her entire pregnancy.
And if he was going to leave after hearing what he heard from Claire, he at least owed her a goodbye. So he should have come back either way. And he should have said, you know what, I'm going to talk to her, like, we're going to just clear the air. If he talked to her and then decided to leave and they decided they weren't going to make it work, fine. But just to not even have those words with her and just to leave her, the way that they've portrayed Roger this season and the way that we've seen him behaving and the way that he was talking in the last episode when he was talking to the father, saying, you know what, I've learned the hard way that it's not about, you shouldn't live for anyone else. Live for yourself. After he went through all this and said those things, I'm not surprised that Roger did this, but I'm still hurt by his reaction. Like, I just can't connect with how Roger was,
how he processed that information.
Yeah.
And then what about these licks he got on Jamie? Like, he had too much liberty with those punches, and I'm just like, Roger, sit down with your one good arm, because if I was Jamie, I would have broke the other arm. Like,
well, I think that Jamie, this was how I took it. Jamie was like, all right, Roger, I deserve the punches you're giving me. That's fine, because he had punched him he punched the wrong guy.
He was being impulsive.
Yeah. So Jamie, I feel like Jamie wasn't even going to try to punch back. He was just like, Roger, go ahead, punch me. It's fine. Get it out of your system.
Yeah.
As soon as Roger completed that, though, and then there was kind of a pause.
Stopped.
Yeah. And the thing is, Roger should have understood that Jamie, I think they even kind of explained it like really quickly before they were trying to make their escape. They kind of explained what had happened. So Roger should have been like, you know what? Like, fine, maybe one. Not that he should have punched it all, but one punch, two punch, let it go. And
let it go.
Yeah.
He was taking out all of these months of just, I guess, being beat and tortured and, you know. Okay, we get that. However, this is your wife's daddy. You have to live with this guy in your life. Like, why create such bad blood with bad blows? And like, it didn't make sense that he got a rush out of that.
And we saw how connected Jamie got to Brianna. So, and how protective he is over her.
Right.
I don't think that Roger is ever gonna. Let me strike that. Maybe not ever. I don't think I think it's gonna take Jamie a long time to respect that Roger's the one with Brianna, because I think in Jamie's mind, this guy, he's just done some really bad things to Brianna. Not bad, like, not in the sense that he's attacked her, but bad in the sense that he's made some really bad choices. And I just feel like Jamie is going to be very protective over Brianna, especially when it comes to Roger, especially with the fact that Roger wouldn't instantly decide to go back with her. And they even said in the writer's room at the end of the episode when they were discussing this, when the producers and director was discussing this, they even said that they weren't sure if they wanted to go in this direction because it leaves Roger being kind of like unredeemable in a sense, because how can you redeem a person who wouldn't just instantly do the right thing in that situation with Brianna?
Yeah, that's guys, this is why I'm telling you he's not my favorite person on the episode, even though he came back and made things right. I just don't like the way he moves at all. Like, the whole thought process is just so skewed.
So Blue Diamond says, that is awful. The poor guy has been suffering and he was in shock. Okay. Now, then we also have Grace and Ryan saying he's a dude from the 70s, not exactly known for thinking quickly, especially for that information overload. And I completely get that. So in Roger's defense, I agree with you guys on that completely. And I don't think Roger's a bad guy. I think he is still a good guy. Yeah. I've never been in his situation, so I can't say what I would have done. He's obviously exhausted. He's obviously had some really like crappy luck after he's gone into the past. So there's obviously a lot of things that are negatively affecting how he might have been thinking at that time. And ultimately, he made the right choice. But it's still hard for me to think, well, it's just hard for me to think that I would have made the same choice as Roger, even in that particular situation.
Yeah, I'm just one for like, I don't like the game playing. It's like, you in this or you're not. Like, are you coming or you're not? Don't like half in, half out the situation. If they gave you the option to come and you say you had to think about it, and see, maybe that's why I have relationship issues, because I'm so direct. It's like, okay, are we doing this or not? I don't want this game. Like, you coming back later after I've already went through my mental torment and I wasn't eating, and oh my gosh, like, I had this baby and I don't know if you're still in this world or the next world. Like,
the other thing too is that when I looked up the timeline, so they said, Brianna had the baby, and then they said it had been 2 months in the dialogue somewhere. So we knew she had the baby, 2 months, Jamie and Claire arrived. What they didn't exactly mention in the show is that the amount of time from when Claire and Jamie arrived to when Roger arrived.
Right.
I assumed watching it had only been maybe a day or two, and that they were getting ready to go.
Yeah.
When I looked up the timeline of the book, it looked like it had been about a month. So Jamie and Claire arrive at River Run, and then a month later, according to the book, that's when Roger comes back after them. Which kind of makes sense, because you wouldn't think it would be a day or two behind necessarily, but we don't know what Roger went through. We don't know when he left Jamie and Claire. And this is my other issue, is that I know that in the books we'd probably get much more of this, but we didn't know what decision Roger was going to make, which, okay, I get that. They don't necessarily want to tell us because they want it to be a surprise. But then we didn't see Roger we didn't really see how Roger got from point A to B. We know that he struggled a lot.
The hell did he get a horse?
How did he get a horse? What happened? Like, the dude could not... Okay, I understand he was sold to the Mohawks, but the dude... I just don't understand. He was having such bad luck. How was he ever going to get from, point A in New York back to River Run?
Who gave him money to buy a horse?
Did he use the... Thank you. Someone understands.
Who let the horse out?
I know he had the gems, but we don't know if he sold them. We don't know. How did the man get back to River Run without Jamie and Claire's help? And obviously they didn't know, because they just looked so sad when they got back there.
Yeah.
And that was how, like, they wouldn't have been looking so sad if they knew that he was coming for Brianna.
Well, yeah. I mean, they didn't know that it's a surprise to everyone.
Yeah.
Honestly.
So before we get into our next topic here, we just want to thank all of you guys. And Angele has a little bit of an announcement.
Hey guys, before we move on to our next topic, as Rach said, we just want to say thank you so much for making us the ESPN of TV Talk. For us to continue to grow, we need your help. Please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up, and if you're on iTunes, come on and give us a 5-star rating so we can continue to talk and get your feedback and laugh and discuss these crazy shows of ours. But no matter where you are, leave us a comment so we can get you involved in the conversation. Being a part of AfterBuzz TV has meant so much to all of us, and we truly appreciate you supporting us and doing what we love. And don't forget to tell your friends and keep up with all of our shows and keep enjoying our shows because we enjoy you. We love our fans. Thank you so much.
Awesome. So kind of backtracking a little bit. Let's get back to Otter Tooth. And let's talk about what happened when Jamie and Claire actually got to the Mohawk camp and just everything that they went through. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, when they got back, I thought it was, I don't know, trading pots and pans. And did I hear one of them say we already have that?
So, yeah. So the way that I took it was they got to the camp and then it was just a really bad, another unlucky event that Claire happened to have the stone from Otter Tooth.
I know. She went to remove her scarf and then boom, here goes Otter Tooth. Like his stone, and they remember everything, and I was like, what is going on here? They left it like such an ellipsis. It's just like, okay, like what about the necklace? What's going on?
Yeah.
And then they explain it later after we're on the edge of our seats, like, okay, the whole transaction just stopped because of the necklace.
Well, okay, so and I'm gonna try, like, they pronounced her name a couple of times in the episode and I looked it up. I believe it's Caitriona. She's the woman who kind of so they get to the camp and they seem like they're going to be willing to actually work with them and trade with them to give them, to trade in exchange for Roger. But then when they see the necklace and they see the stone, everything changes. Claire and Jamie, I don't know what they would have done if the next part hadn't happened, but it's basically just Caitriona finds them and explains about Otter Tooth and everything that had happened with him. And for me, they had a lot of mention of this Otter Tooth guy, not only him coming back and talking about things they had not heard before, claiming he was from a future time, and that he was here to save their people and everything. Like it almost sounded like he came with the best intentions, knowing what would happen to them.
Yes.
But then not only did he go mad, but they had a lot of mentioning of seeing ghosts and hearing voices, and they ended up in the long run. They even mentioned that Otter Tooth believed he was possessed.
Right.
And so, to me, okay, Claire saw his ghost. So I'm just wondering now what this is going to mean for the future of Outlander and what it means, like as someone who hasn't read the books, how they're going to bring this up again.
How they're going to bring which part?
The fact that Claire saw his ghost. How they're going to bring this
How
into
they're
the
going
rest
to
of
justify that if he's a crazy lunatic?
Well, how they're going to justify the fact that she saw the ghost, what this means for her, the fact that she's been wearing the crystal stone for.
They did say that the one who knows the truth will be wearing the stone.
And they kind of implied in the story that they were telling her that anyone who got near him sort of kind of went crazy too. Because once they killed him, they were hearing they were still hearing his voice.
Yes.
And then, even then...
Well, the guy was carrying his head,
Yeah,
so.
yeah. So I'm really curious what they're going to do with that and how it's going to tie in. I would hope that they wouldn't drop that. It's too interesting to actually let it go.
It is some juicy tea. I love talking about spirits and ghosts and, like, all of that kind of stuff intrigues me.
Eric Jackson says, I was hoping the Mohawk woman would come with them. Yeah. She seemed, the group that helped them just seemed like very, first obviously they were attacking them, but eventually they seemed like people that, where are they going to go now? Like that.
Yeah. I mean, they seem like people that, that were good, like intrinsically good people. I really feel like that is maybe even like the fact that they dismissed her from the tribe altogether. I think that's kind of a foreshadowing of, oh, they're going to come back around at some other point later.
Yeah.
Because what are they doing? They're wandering around. They don't really have a home. They don't belong to any set anymore. So, I mean, I think it's only right for them to come back around and keep helping Jamie and Claire.
Yeah, exactly. And I would love to see them come back too.
That should have been in my predictions.
They will definitely.
I jumped it.
It's okay. It's okay. We have Starlight Memory 78 who subscribed to the channel, so thank you.
Thank
Wanted
you,
to give her a
girlfriend.
shout out. And also, we have a couple of other comments in here, too. ABK88 says, so sad she was banished. And then Elizabeth Brown says, a lot of this stuff should have happened last episode. And I agree. And I think it goes back to the fact that, too, it just felt a lot slower in the beginning of season 4 until the very end. But, okay. So let me just see. There's like a couple more.
It just seems like they write as they go. It's just like... Because I don't think that was ideal to fit everything compact into this last finale. Like, that wasn't fair.
Yeah. And we have Carmen Cortez saying, there is not a haunting storyline. It's more like misinformation than knowledge from the tribe, which still doesn't explain. Like, I can definitely get behind that maybe they told her the wrong, pieces of information, but... why I still want to know why Claire saw the ghost and what it means. That's why I believe that it was somehow Jamie's ghost, because
What?
I'm not sure. Like,
No, that was not Jamie's ghost.
I don't know. Like,
We saw the whole silhouette was all Native American.
Well, all I'm gonna say is this: the ghost helped. So he seemed like a better man than what he didn't seem like a crazy man the way that the Mohawks were portraying him. So
Well, yeah.
I don't know, but we'll see what happens with that. Okay, so on that note, why don't we go ahead and first do our predictions, and then after we do the predictions, we'll get into our page to screen. So if anyone doesn't want to know spoilers from the book, after predictions would be your time to tune out. So on that note, predictions.
And now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
Okay, this is something too that we didn't even get to mention yet, and I'll put it in with predictions.
Okay.
So two things. So we have the whole Murtaugh and Jocasta storyline.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Please add some more time to the clock so we can talk about Murtaugh and Jocasta.
Yeah.
I knew that was sexual tension building. I knew there was something between those two. I knew it was sexual tension. What do you guys think?
So it was just funny. All of a sudden they're fighting, and the next morning we see them in bed together.
Yes.
Yeah, which I knew that was going to happen.
Classic.
But what do you think? Okay, so we have that, but then we also have the fact that as we're wrapping up this episode, we saw the Redcoats come in and deliver a paper to Jamie telling him he has to go and join the militia and get Murtaugh. So what are your predictions there? Do you think, how do you think Jamie's going to react to this? And not react obviously we know he's not going to want to do it and that he won't, but how do you think that he's going to handle not doing this?
Jamie is not a fan of the Redcoats. Nobody is. I don't think he will even play into it. I don't think he'll even make them think he's down for the cause. I think he'll just be a rebel.
He has to, though. So here's the thing, is that if he doesn't, he's kind of tied. His hands are tied now because he was given the land grant. So he sort of has to.
Yes.
If he doesn't, he will probably be labeled a traitor and lose his land. And then I could see Jamie joining the rebels. That would be my prediction if I could, that. Yeah.
I mean, definitely. He would definitely go that route. Not joining the Redcoats.
Yeah.
Definitely joining the rebels and just being what he always is, highly sought after.
And we know that the house at some point burns down, which is the whole reason that Brianna came back, to warn them. So maybe it's better off that they just leave Fraser's Ridge and just go somewhere, leave it and go. And that's kind of where that's the direction I see this going, is that Jamie
That's
is,
the easy way out.
yeah.
Just leave, pack up, and it's establish you and your family somewhere else. But where else?
It's a good question. I don't know.
Because everything else, isn't everything already divvied up? And like everything that they haven't taken from the Native Americans.
And also they've got a baby with them now. So it's a much
traveling
more
is not going to be easy.
Yeah. So in that sense, maybe Jamie is just going to pretend to, help the British and then not actually go after Murtaugh, it's just a difficult thing because they're going to expect to see Murtaugh, and part of me thinks Murtaugh might just turn himself in so that Jamie doesn't have to do this.
No. Okay, guys, let's fake Murtaugh's death. Let's do that, okay? So he missed the explosion at the jailhouse, okay? We can have another explosion at someone's cabin, and let's pretend Murtaugh was in there. Why not?
Yeah. So, yeah, I agree with you.
What do you guys think? Tell us in the chat, how would you play the story out with Jamie versus Murtaugh? Like how he's going to capture his what uncle, father figure,
Godfather, yeah.
Godfather. Yeah, it's not happening.
On that note, now is our paged screen segment. So for anyone who doesn't want to hear about spoilers from what the book versus the television show, now's the time to tune out.
Spoiler alert! Spoiler alert!
In case you didn't hear me. Okay.
I love that.
So there were about 4 things that were very different in the book versus what actually happened on the TV show.
Other than Murtaugh actually being alive.
So that's a huge one, is that Murtaugh, everything with Jocasta and Murtaugh did not happen in the book because there was no Murtaugh. Murtaugh died. Well, there was a Murtaugh, but then he died.
But aren't we glad it happened? Because I can just imagine Aunt Jocasta just having cobwebs down there. I'm glad somebody broke her in this episode. Sorry, guys. So I'm a little direct with that, but I was happy to see it. I was here for it.
Yeah, no, I'm happy that Murtaugh still exists and that nothing happened to him. On that note,
wasn't
though,
what I was talking about, but go ahead.
Jocasta, apparently, she ends up with another one of, this is how they put it in the article, another one of Jamie's men. His name is Duncan, and they actually get married in a big storyline in the Fiery Cross. And I just found it interesting that the actor playing Murtaugh his first name is Duncan.
Yeah.
So I wanted to point that out. The other thing, this is from the article as well. So we have everything with Murtaugh is
non-existent.
Yeah.
Right.
The ending in the book, it happens differently with Roger. What I put down, and we have Billie Jean Girl 24 also saying how it was different with Roger. She says, you know what the original ending to this episode was? Jamie and Claire arriving at the house and Brianna asking where Roger was. So apparently what they did was, that was how it ended, and that's what they were debating with the writer's room. And they even said originally they cut it so that it did end there. What they did was they actually crossed it with... I believe it's the Fiery Cross with it, which is the next book. So they took the beginning of that and put it into the end of the season 4.
This was a way better ending. I mean, sizzle wise, because them coming back, hey, where's Roger? I mean, cut. Okay.
Yeah. I like what they did.
like
they
this.
still ended it on a cliffhanger because we don't know what Jamie's going to do.
Right.
And anyone who has read the books, you still don't know what's going to happen because Murtaugh wasn't there before. So this cliffhanger is a shocker for all of us, whether you're a book reader or not a book reader of Outlander. Okay, and then the last thing kind of just goes off of what I said before. This is a quote from the article. Drums of Autumn ends on quite a different note with the gathering at Mount St. Helicon, whereas the finale ends where the Fiery Cross begins, with Jamie's orders to build a militia. The producers decided that playing with the book timeline made sense for the show. So... on that note, did you have any other final thoughts you wanted to say about season 4 for Outlander?
No, nothing that stood out. I am excited for Ian and the new life he's creating. Other than that, no, I don't have anything else. I'm glad Bree finally had this baby. I think Bonnet's gonna come back and shake things up a lot. Yeah, I think it's gonna get crazy with Murtaugh and that whole red coat thing. It's gonna get ugly.
So I guess the only thing I want to say is, yeah, I'm curious what they're going to do with Ian. I'm also, just before we wrap up here, I plan on reading the books, like I said before. So when we come back for season 5, I will know the books so I can talk to you guys about that too. On that note, thank you all for being amazing fans and for tuning in this season. We'll be back once Droughtlander's over. But for now, I'm Rachel Goodman. You can find me on Twitter or Instagram at Rach Goodman. I also do the Young and the Restless AfterBuzz after show. So if you watch that soap, we had some soapy moments this episode of Outlander.
Oh, yeah.
If you watch that soap, you can find me on Sundays at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And Angele, where can they find you?
Hey guys, you can find me, Angele Taylor, on Instagram at Angele Taylor _ And I will also be doing Black Monday right after this one. So I'll be running from this show